This is our presentation of coffee by Emma and Bella.
In the mid-1600s, coffee was brought to Amsterdam, also known as New York, by the British. The victory for the British in the French and Indian War was very costly for them. King George III and his government tried to find new ways to tax the American colonies. The Townshend Revenue Act in 1767 created taxes on glass, paint, oil, lead, paper, and tea. In October 1768, the first British troops arrived in Boston to enforce the taxes. The tea tax caused the price to be 3% more on tea. The night the tea tax was enforced, the Boston Massacre took place. The tensions were high between the American colonists and the British. In the late afternoon of March 5, 1770, a crowd in Boston started throwing snowballs at a small group of British soldiers. The soldiers got mad after one of their men was hit. They began to fire into the crowd, although there wasn't orders to fire. 5 of the colonists were killed. In 1770, the Parliament repealed the Townshend duties other than the tea tax. The colonists were not pleased because tea was their drink of choice. The tea sales had dropped 70% in over 3 years. In 1773, Parliament passed the Tea Act, which gave the English East India Company a chance to get money from the importation of tea to the colonies. On November 28th, the Dartmouth arrived in the Boston harbor carrying tea. There were radicals roaming the streets that were determined that the cargo would not be landing in the city. The Tea Act stated that tax would have to be collected within 20 days of the ship's arrival, making December 16th the deadline. That evening, the group of radicals broke out loud in Indian whoops while storming all 3 ships, Dartmouth, Beaver, and the Eleanor. The 50 men were disguised as Mohawk Indians. As the vessels were boarded, the cargo was taken from their holds and placed on the decks. There were a total of 342 chests that were split open and thrown into the harbor. The cheering crowd on the dock shouted saltwater tea. The tea party was quickly restaged in different ports throughout American colonies. With the American colonies not drinking or receiving tea from England, their drinking preferences changed to coffee. The tax on tea caused the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party caused America to change their drink preferences to coffee, which has become an event in our nation's history. The American colonies didn't have to pay a large tax to the King of England on coffee. They could also grow their own coffee in their houses, which made it even cheaper. Also, the caffeine in coffee helped the American soldiers to stay awake during the long night raids. Tea has only half the amount of caffeine in a single cup, making tea harder to drink during war. Also, tea dehydrates you while coffee hydrates you. The original coffee drink was originated in the Ethiopian highlands. It soon traveled up to Europe. Soon it made it to America. The coffee plant has both a flower and a cherry. The coffee cherry is usually picked by hand. They open the berry to get the coffee bean from inside. The bean starts out green. While the bean is being dried, and the beans puff up to double their size and transform in color, taste, and smell. The natural sugars caramelize, making the coffee bean look like it does. Starbucks, Caribou Coffee, Tim Hortons, Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, Coffee Beanery, Seattle's Best, Peet's Coffee, Tully's, Dunbrow's Coffee, and Port City Java. Over 300 million cups of coffee are consumed daily. There are over 130 plus coffee flavors today. Coffee is grown in Mocha, Colombia. Each Starbucks has at least 250 visits daily. There are over 8,000 Starbucks in America. Coffee is a turning point in history because if there hadn't been a tax on tea, then we wouldn't be so reliant on coffee today. Over half of America's adults drink 2 or more cups of coffee daily. Overall, coffee is a good drink to have. It awakens you and keeps you going through your day.